All right, today we're jumping right into the really complex but also incredibly hopeful world of ALS research. We're going to break down the science behind the fight against this disease, and we'll look at all the different ways scientists are trying to turn the tide.
You know, one of the sources we looked at had this quote that just perfectly captures the struggle. It says, "Living with ALS can feel like navigating a stormy sea." And that really paints a picture, doesn't it? A constant, unpredictable battle against a storm that just doesn't let up.
But here's the thing. This explainer isn't about the storm. It's about the rescue mission. See, scientists out there are building a whole fleet of solutions, lifeboats, if you will, and each one is designed a little differently. So let's take a closer look at how these things actually work.
So, to really get the solutions, we first have to understand the problem at its core. And the source material uses this really powerful analogy to describe it: snapping puppet strings.
So, what exactly are these strings? Well, they're your motor neurons. The best way to think of them is like special delivery drivers inside your body. Their entire job is to carry messages, commands really, from your brain straight to your muscles. Super important job.
Okay, so let's walk through what goes wrong. Your brain sends a super simple command, something like lift your arm. That motor neuron, our delivery driver, takes the message and heads off. But in ALS, that pathway, that puppet string, it starts to get weak, it frays, and eventually it snaps. And the really tragic part is that the muscle is still perfectly fine, it's ready to work, but the message just never arrives.
And that brings us to the first major strategy from researchers. If the problem starts way down at the microscopic level, well, maybe the solution does too. This whole approach is about going back to the body's original source code and looking for typos.
Yeah, think of your DNA like a giant recipe book. For some people with ALS, there's a typo in a really crucial recipe, the one for building and maintaining healthy motor neurons. So the whole game becomes, how in the world do you edit that book?
So how do you edit a recipe book that's in every single cell of the body? Well, there are two really clever approaches being tested. First, you've got gene therapy. This is like printing out a brand new, correct recipe page and just slipping it into the book. It doesn't get rid of the bad one, but it gives the body a good one to follow. Then there are antisense molecules. This is a totally different tactic. It's like putting a gag on the faulty instructions so the bad message never even gets read out loud.
And get this isn't just theory, it's actually working. Recent trials using these antisense therapies have managed to reduce those harmful proteins by up to 50%. That is a huge, huge deal.
It's like one researcher said, we're editing the story of ALS. I mean, this isn't just about treating symptoms anymore. It's about fundamentally rewriting the disease's narrative, right from the very beginning.
Okay, so fixing the genetic code, that's one massive piece of the puzzle. But what if you can't fix every single faulty cell? Well, the next best thing might be to protect the ones that are still working just fine.
The whole idea here is defensive. It's asking the question, okay, if there's an attack going on, can we build a fortress? Can we just create a safe zone for the motor neurons that are left so they can survive and keep doing their job?
And the answer seems to be a defense on multiple fronts. First up, immunotherapy. This is all about retraining the body's own immune system, its soldiers, to stop cases of friendly fire where they attack their own neurons. Then there's neuroprotection, which is basically like wrapping each neuron in bubble wrap to protect it from damage. And third, mitochondrial repair. See, mitochondria are the tiny power plants inside our cells, and in ALS, they start to fail. So this strategy is all about getting those power plants back up and running.
So, we've talked about fixing the code and building a fortress. But what do you do about the connections that are already lost? This next area of research is, well, it's maybe the most ambitious one yet.
And this really gets to the brutal reality of the disease. Once those puppet strings snap, that connection between the brain and the muscle, it's gone. For all intents and purposes, it seems permanent.
Or is it? What if we could just build brand new connections from scratch?
And there are two incredible paths being explored here. On one hand, you have a biological approach, stem cells. You can think of these as blank Lego bricks that scientists hope could be used to rebuild or replace the damaged parts. And then there's a totally different way, a technological approach, brain-computer interfaces or BCIs. The idea here is, if the biological bridge is out, fine. This technology builds a helicopter that flies the commands directly from the brain to a device, completely bypassing the broken nervous system.
And look at how far this has come. We're talking a 97% speech accuracy rate in recent trials. Just think about that for a second. translating a person's thoughts directly into words with almost perfect clarity. This is about restoring something so fundamental to who we are, our voice. It's just incredible.
So, what's making all this incredible progress happen so fast? Well, there are a couple of unsung heroes in this story, the tools that are basically supercharging every single approach we've talked about.
You can think of these tools as the disease detectives. First, you have biomarkers. These are like finding the disease's fingerprints in blood or spinal fluid. That means a much faster diagnosis and a way to see if a treatment is actually working in real time. Then you have computational AI, the super sleuth that can sift through enormous amounts of patient data to find patterns no human could ever spot. This helps predict how the disease might progress and even figure out which drugs might work best for which person.
At the end of the day, what this all really means is that there's no single magic bullet, at least not yet. Fixing the code, shielding the cells, rebuilding connections, and sharpening our detective tools, every single one is a crucial piece of this giant, complicated puzzle.
And that leaves us with a really hopeful final thought. For the first time, a clear picture is really starting to take shape. We can actually see the outlines of the missing pieces, and we have strategies to find them. So the question isn't really if this puzzle will be solved anymore, but which one of these amazing innovations will be the final piece that makes the whole picture complete.